All right, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Couchbrotatopodcast. My name is Russ, and joining me on today's show is my good friend Jason, and it's been quite a while since Jason's been on the program, but I think we got an awesome topic to talk to you guys and gals about today. Jason, what are we talking about today?
Today we are ranking the 11 studio albums by Metallica.
Oh, that's going to be a good one. Where are we going to rank the new 72 Seasons? Is Master of Puppets number one, or is it going to be something completely different? The only way for you to find out is to listen right now. So after the guitar riff, the Couch Potato Podcast presents to you the 11 Metallica studio albums ranked by us. All right, well, welcome back, Jason, to the show. It's been a long time since you've been on. It's been almost a year, hasn't it?
Has it been? I mean, I think maybe back in October, maybe?
These things start to run together at this point. I don't know who's been on. I know it's been a while, and I've been trying to find the perfect episode to bring it back, and I figured what we're talking about today would be an awesome topic for you to make your triumphant return. So today, Jason and I are going to rank the Metallica studio albums, which is something I've been wanting to do for a while, but I guess it's the perfect occasion since Metallica just released a brand new album, 72 Seasons. We are recording this on a Tuesday night, so this dropped last Friday. So before we get into our rankings, have you had a chance to really dig into the new album? Curious to hear your thoughts on it.
I really enjoyed it. I was kind of concerned. I mean, when they dropped, what was it, Lux Eterna? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, it wasn't my favorite. But then, like, I ended up getting MLB The Show, and it's on there. And the thing that I loved about it was it always plays in the background on the Showdown.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I absolutely love this song now. But yeah, I mean, I've listened through a few times now, and I enjoy it. I mean, I think it's better than the other recent releases that they've had. Mm-hmm. And I haven't found myself skipping anything on the album. So, I mean, that's always a plus. And I mean, it's too early to really tell like where it's going to end up in the ranking list all time. I mean, it's been out for 5 days, but I think it's got a shot to do pretty well. Mm-hmm. So, what you think?
I know for me, I wasn't really feeling it the first time through. And that's more of me just being a person that, like, I just seem to not really enjoy anything the first time I listened to it. I think before we were hopping on the air, we were just, you said you kind of heard it just to kind of get a vibe.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I am, and then I'll give it another listen to kind of, really let it sink in, and then I'll, give it a few spins just to kind of let it gel in my bloodstream, see what I think. But after a few listens, the more I listened to it, the more I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think James, like, this is his album to shine. I think he sounds awesome on this.
Yeah. It does.
And this thing is a riff machine. Like, there are tons of great riffs in there.
Yeah.
I think the only gripe that I have is sometimes it seems like they try to make the songs longer than they need to be.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of minor, though. I mean, it's still a really good album. Like I said, yeah, James is my favorite member of the band, so like anytime he gets a chance to show off his chops, I'm all for it. But yeah, I'm really digging it, though, man. Like, I was like you. I really liked Lux Eterna when it first came out, but then I wasn't big into, I think Screaming Suicide was the second single that they dropped on it. I really could not get into that until I started listening to the album. And now I kind of, I dig it. And then the other singles I thought were pretty good. So, yeah, man, I'm really enjoying it too. It's been in constant rotation on the playlist. When I'm driving by myself, when I've got my daughter with me, it's Disney and Coco Melon and all kinds of other stuff. So I haven't turned my daughter into a metalhead yet, but I'm slowly getting there.
Understood.
So how long you been a Metallica fan? I know you and I have actually had an opportunity to see them in concert together.
Yeah, I can remember having MTV back early 90s and not really being allowed to watch MTV unless my parents were in the room.
Uh-huh.
And I remember probably my first experience with Metallica was the Unforgiven video.
Yeah.
And it creeped me the hell out because of that old man, like when he breaks through that cave, like he's looking through that cave or that hole, like it gave me like the Michael Jackson Thriller vibes. I didn't want to see that shit no more. But I mean, as I got older, I liked it. But I mean, really, the first time I remember enjoying Metallica was probably my freshman year of high school. I didn't know 1994. I didn't really know much about Metallica, but playing football, one song they played before we went on to the field was "For Whom the Bell Tolls," and I had no clue who that was. But when I heard that song the first time, I fell in love with it, and that's when I started asking around, like, who is it? Oh, that's Metallica. Okay, really? Okay, and I remember buying Ride the Lightning just for that particular song, and then falling in love with the album, and then learning about all the other stuff that they had done. So, yeah, that's probably 14 years old, so almost 30 years now.
You sound like you kind of got into them the way that I did. I know when I was a kid, I was kind of mostly into a lot of the pop radio, and I kind of progressed into like rock during I wasn't a hair metal fan, but I do remember a friend of mine had brought over the Black album, and we were listening to that, and I was just kind of blown away by like how like aggressive a popular rock band was on the radio.
Yeah.
So of course, like after I heard his copy of the Black album, I had to go out and get my own. And then when I dug into the Black album a little bit, I was like, oh, I wonder what else they got out. And I had bought the Black album a couple of weeks before Woodstock '94, and I ordered the pay-per-view, and they have a version of "For Whom the Bell Tolls" on there, which is my favorite version than playing it live. And that's same thing with you, man. That was like the next album I bought was Ride the Lightning. And then, I just dig into like, oh, they've got Master of Puppets. They've got Kill 'Em All. They've got Injustice for All, which I had seen the video for one, but I hadn't really put much thought into it until I really got into them. But after I heard the Black album, man, like I basically like, this is my band. And I've been a fan ever since. People that know me know that this is my band. I've seen them 17 times in concert. 18 and 19, hopefully in November when I go see them in Detroit.
Yeah, that's we went to, what was it, Summer Sanitarium 2003.
Yeah,
I think.
Yep, it was Metallica. Who's that? Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, the Deftones, and Mudvayne. Yeah, that was a hell of a good show.
Yeah, I mean, it really was, but such an oddball kind of. I mean, Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, and then the Deftones. Didn't Chino talk shit about Metallica before that tour?
Yeah, I said they were gonna blow everybody off the stage, which we thought was kind of a dick move at the time. But now, being much older and knowing better, it's like, he's just, every band should want to, be the top dog on a bill. So
yeah, that was That's the best concert that I've ever been to.
I've told people that's probably the loudest show I've ever been to, like outside. Because I think when Metallica went on, you and I were parked by, because a lot of times now they do their concerts in the round, which means like they're in the middle, their stage is circular, and then everybody can see them. But when we seen them at the Horseshoe, they had just the standard stage, and I think we were set up by Rob's bass amps,
Yep.
and I know for me personally, like I just felt the rattle of his bass for days afterward.
Yeah, that was so awesome. The one memory I have of that is them starting one and those flames shooting up out of the stage. And I remember looking over at you like, is my face on fire?
Yep.
And my face was blistered from the sun because, I mean, we basically baked out there for 10 hours. And they didn't come on until after dark. And then, yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, those flames coming up out of that stage were so hot. Mm-hmm. But it was the coolest moment ever.
Me and a friend of mine went and seen them on the Hardwired, the first arena run that they did in the States, and we seen them in Cincinnati. And it was, I think it was 2018, I want to say. It's when we got that really bad cold stretch that came through the area where it was like, with the wind chill, it was like negative 40-something degrees.
Yeah.
And me and my buddy were like 2 rows from the stage. And just being at a show amongst all those people, you know, you start getting sweaty and everything. And, yeah, those flames, you know, just we were drenched in sweat after that show. And I remember we went outside to get to our car, and my hood literally, like, within seconds went from being, like, soaking wet to, like, frozen stiff.
Oh, man, I couldn't imagine.
But, yeah, they are such an incredible live band. I think that's why I gravitate towards them so much, is just the fact that they're so good live.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to take my son to see them. My son went and seen them in Indianapolis. Same time I took my mom. My mom was wanting to see them too. I think that's the cool thing about them too, is like they're one of those bands that I think they're kind of a gateway band now into metal. I mean, they're not at this point, they're not really, you know, the hardest or the heaviest or the fastest playing anymore, but like I think they're kind of like the gatekeepers. Like, okay, start out with somebody like Metallica, and then like, okay, then you can start venturing into like, okay, you want something that fast but a little bit more darker, you can venture into Slayer or Megadeth, and then you can kind of branch out from there. So I think that's like the good thing about him. Like my son, well, he's kind of in that phase now where dad's music kind of sucks, but I know Metallica was his gateway band into listening to metal. Then he discovered like Slipknot and you know, some of the other stuff that he's into now. So, well, hey, let's get to it, man. You want to get to this list?
Let's go.
All right. Well, how we're going to do this is we're ranking the 11 Metallica studio albums. So that's going to eliminate the Garage Inc., the Live Shit Binge and Purge, Live Disc, the S&M stuff. I know I'm probably missing something. The Through the Never soundtrack, which is a live album too. Just the standard 11 Metallica studio albums. So we're going to rank them from 11 to 1. Usually how we do this is being the gracious host that I am, I let my guest lead off with his 11th. Well, in this case, his 11th, and then we'll just go all the way to number 1. So we'll kind of talk about them as we go through. So what is your number 11 pick for the Metallica rankings, the ultimate Metallica rankings via the Couch Potato Podcast?
Well, I just want to start by saying that I don't think any of these albums are terrible. Like, you shouldn't listen to them. All of them have good stuff on them. Um, my number 11 is Reload.
Okay.
Kind of after, I mean, Fuel is probably, I think most people would probably know that's a Metallica song if they heard it. Just, I mean, you could be a NASCAR fan and know that. But after, I think, Fuel and The Memory Remains, there's really not a lot of memorable stuff on there. I mean, there's some good stuff, but yeah, that would be my number 11.
I know for me, like, I have Reload a little higher than you, but they have one of my favorite deep cuts. I've always wanted to hear them play live, and when they did their 40th anniversary shows in 2022, they finally busted that out and played it live for the first time. Fixer.
Oh, yeah.
That's an awesome deep cut. Always wanted to hear them play it live. And I think that's why I go to see them so much at this point is the fact I want to hear songs I've never heard them play before.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard them play Sandman a million times. I've heard For Him to Bell Tolls. I want to hear the shit I've never heard, like Disposable Heroes, shit like Fixer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. I'm a little higher on Reload, but yeah, it's kind of when they tried to change their sound, which I can respect that. I mean, you know, you've been around that long. I mean, AC/DC's done it well. Slayer's done it well. They have a formula. They stick with it. Everything kind of sounds the same. So I can kind of respect you trying to venture out and be different. But a lot of bands, too, like, they got so much shit for that, the load and reload stuff.
Yeah.
That was that era. They cut their hair. And then you went from the Black album, you went from Injustice for All, a very aggressive album, to Black, which was still pretty heavy, but then kind of obviously made more for radio, into Load and Reload. I know for me, I have at number 11, I had Saint Anger at number 11. Like you said, though, they don't really have bad albums. I think this one's solid, but I know for me, like, the biggest gripes I have is the snare.
Yeah.
That annoying ping. And I always thought that this was Metallica's attempt to try to fit into the nu metal genre. And I've always felt that Metallica doesn't have to, they're a big enough band to where they don't have to fit in. Everyone should try to be like Metallica, not vice versa.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that's coming off of, James, his rehab stint. They did some kind of monster documentary. They almost broke up. They lost Jason. So I kind of get they were trying. This was just them being very raw and vulnerable and just getting their emotions out. They did put out a bonus DVD with Saint Anger that had them playing the songs in a studio setting, which I thought sounded so much better. And I'm trying to think of, like, why didn't you do this with the studio album? I don't know. I mean, they obviously knew what they were doing more than I do, but Saint Anger sits at a solid number 11 for me.
All right.
What do you got at number 10?
Saint Anger at number 10.
Okay.
Yeah, like you, I didn't like the snare, and I absolutely shit on this album when it first came out. But after, I can't even remember when this record came out, but after so many years, I actually don't mind listening to it now. And
I think Saint Anger was 2000.
Yeah, somewhere 2000, 2001, maybe.
Yeah.
But I really love Some Kind of Monster. I don't know. Yeah, that song that's my favorite song on that album. And usually when I'm doing stuff around the house, that song is on every playlist that I have. It's always added. But yeah, I mean, that album has grown on me, and I don't hate it like I used to hate it.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the reworking of All Within My Hands that they do for their charity event? They used to do the Neil Young Bridge School tribute or charity shows. Then they kind of did their All Within My Hands charity event. But they've reworked All Within My Hands as an acoustic song. I think it sounds a million times better now than the album version.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to check that out. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can find them on YouTube. I think there's actually they released the All Within My Hands as an album, like a vinyl, which I always seem to miss out on. But yeah, you can find it on YouTube. It's really good. And they've reworked some of their stuff where they play live. Like they've added guitar solos, which I know that was a big thing that people shit on too. Is like you have arguably one of the best guitar players in metal history, in Kirk Hammett, and you're not letting him put solos in this stuff. Like that made no sense either.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I know my number 10 is Reload.
Okay.
So yeah, we're not too far off. Yeah, there's not a lot of stuff in there that really like jumps out to me. Like Fixer, I said, awesome, deep cut. Fuel, I've heard it so many times. It's pretty much, I think that's a stadium staple at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the theme for NBC's NASCAR coverage for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that used to come on, and I'm like, NASCAR's on.
Yeah, I have members of my family that are diehard NASCAR fans, and I know I used to hear it all the time. And now I think they've done away with it. I think they've got something else now, but I think it was NBC that had it. It was NBC or Fox. I don't know.
Yeah, one of those two.
All right, well, it looks like you and I are not too far apart on our rankings, but what is sitting at number 9 for you?
Number 9 is Load.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I like the album. King Nothing is another one of those songs that I'll always add to a playlist. This was just, I don't want to say like a weird time. Like it just didn't seem like all the previous stuff. But I mean, I still enjoy this record.
Mm-hmm. I really, actually, Load is, like, I really, really like, they've got a lot of stuff on there that I really, like you said, King Nothing is on there. There's a song called The House That Jack Built that I really like.
Yeah.
That's one of those albums, too. They don't play a lot of the stuff live. So I'm, like, really itching to hear some of these deep cuts played live. You're right, though. This is coming off of the Black Album, and then they followed it up with a very, not really a metal album. It's more, I consider Low to be more of a hard rock album with like, there's some blues in there. They have not arguably, I think it is the worst song in the Metallica catalog. Mama Said. It's a country song. Which, when I heard that for the first time, I thought, what the fuck is this doing on here?
Yeah.
And I thought at first, like, is this a misprint? Did somebody, like, is this some kind of fucking joke? But, yeah, not a fan of that. But they have some good stuff on there. Like, it has the Unforgiven 2's on Reload. But, yeah, I mean, it's a good album. I think some of the hits off that, like Until It Sleeps, I still think holds up really well. That's a fantastic song.
Yeah, it is.
Actually, because I think that was the first single off that. I remember seeing the video, that really weird video that they did for it on MTV. And I'm like, okay, I'm fucking buying that day one.
Yeah.
But I know for me, number 9 is going to be Death Magnetic.
Is that number?
That's number 9. We're on number 9 now.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I thought the album is good. It's got some solid stuff on there, but I think it sounds like shit. If you listen to that album on a pair of good headphones, it does not sound the greatest, and the louder you turn it up, the worse it sounds.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because And I was discussing with a friend of mine how great All Nightmare Long is.
Oh, yes, that's my favorite off that.
That song fucking rips. Such a cool ass song. And just it's a shame that it sounds as bad as it does because it's produced by Rick Rubin, a legendary music producer. That guy's done Beastie Boys, Chili Peppers. Then he founded Def Jam. Iconic music producer. He did Slayer, did some Slayer. Iconic music producer. When I found out that they were in the studio with him, I had such high expectations for this. Like, this is going to be the best Metallica record of all time. And I mean, it's still good, but I think conversation I was having with my same friend that they were in the process of they recorded it on like older equipment, and they were in the process of swapping out for new equipment. That's kind of why it sounds the way it does.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've heard that if you get Guitar Hero Metallica, which has that, I think you can listen to all the, like, it has the entire album on that. That version sounds a million times better than the album because it's not all compressed to shit and everything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, All Nightmare Long, I always thought like that deserved to be in like a really good horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like a chase scene or something, and like I absolutely love that song.
Oh yeah, that's still one of my favorite songs that they've done in like the last 15 or 20 years. I wish they would bring it back out and play it live. They don't. Last couple times I've seen them, they don't really do much from this album outside of The Day That Never Comes is the only thing I've heard. Last few times I've seen them. Which is a shame. But yeah, All Nightmare Long fucking is a killer track. There's some other good stuff in there too. Like The Day That Never Comes is pretty good. That's a kind of a standout track. I think The Unforgiven 3 is on this.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Metallica is the only band that I know of off the top of my head. Now, I'm sure someone will prove me wrong, that has sequels to songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good album, but just, it's really hampered by just the production value of it. Like, I don't really listen to it. Like, on my headphones, I won't listen to it at all. Because I pick up on so much of it. This is the one album that I wish I could get a hold of. Like, I'm almost willing to gamble on getting, like, a LimeWire or something like that. Like, I used to do with the torrents, but I got a nasty letter from my cable company, and they told me to shut it down. But that I would love to get a hold of those Guitar Hero rips of that album. I'm sure it'd be a million times better.
Yeah.
And they do all these anniversary. They've done everything up until the Black album. So come on, Metallica, just do a fucking Saint Anger or a Death Magnetic reissue. Just have Greg Fiddleman get in there, clean it up, put it back out.
Yeah.
Make everyone happy.
Couldn't hurt.
What is your number 8?
Death Magnetic.
Boy, this is.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much for the same reasons that you said. I mean, again, All Nightmare Long is easily my favorite song on this. I like Cyanide, Day That Never Comes. I mean, I guess I've never yeah, you can hear it when there's just something not right. You should be able to play a Metallica album as loud as possible, and it sounds freaking awesome. But yeah, this one just it didn't.
I think for me, it's being like I have a couple of good pairs of headphones that I can listen to music into. Like if I was just listening to it out of those shitty earbuds that you used to get with your iPhone, like I probably wouldn't care. But now that I've got good stuff, like this doesn't cut the mustard now.
Yeah. It's a bummer.
I know my number 8 is going to be Load.
Okay.
So yeah, we're doing a fantastic job here, gang. It's just we're just gonna go back and forth. It's like, okay, well, his is gonna be one higher than mine. Yeah, like Load. I think it was just the fact that it was such a left turn from what you're accustomed to. If you were a fan of theirs for a while, I think it's a good album. That if you hadn't listened to them before, I think it's a good album to get started on.
Yeah.
But also, I could easily see like somebody liking, if that's the first album that they hear, liking it and then like venturing into their old stuff and not liking the old stuff as much because it's too much, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still some good stuff in there. Like I said, you know, King Nothing's awesome. Until It Sleeps is awesome. The House of Jack Built is an awesome deep cut. I don't think they've played live. I wish they would. Yeah, there's some good stuff in there, but yeah, it's not an elite Metallica album. I really hope that at some point we start getting like I'm hoping that like you're gonna tell me like you've got Master of Puppets next, just so we can have like a shocker in here, like a hot take. I don't think it'll be that low, but
yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Well, what's number 7 for you then?
This is where it kind of got hard because I mean we're including the new record, and I don't want to put it too high, but I don't want to put it too low because I really enjoyed it. And I don't think the new record deserves to be in the top 5. So you're probably going to know who my next 2 picks are. I did Hardwired. And I mean, I like the album. I enjoyed it. And it still has one of the coolest songs to appear in pop culture when Now That We're Dead was what the Undertaker rode to his entrance to his final match in WWE, which I still think is the coolest WrestleMania entrance of all time. I don't care if it was in front of a live crowd or not.
That was really cool.
You have arguably the most badass character in WWE of all time riding a motorcycle to Metallica in his final fight. I mean, yeah, I mean there's a lot of good stuff on here. It's not my favorite Metallica album, but I gave it this ranking just because, you know, I love that they let WWE use it for The Undertaker.
My next pick is going to be the new album, 72 Seasons.
Okay.
I was with you. It's still new, and I don't want my ranking to reflect the new car smell.
Yeah.
And then like later on, like, man, why did I think so highly of this? It kind of sucks. Or, you know, like I ranked this entirely too low. This is you dig into it more, like this is a fucking masterpiece. But no, 72 Seasons, like I'm really hooked on it right now. It could be that new car smell.
Yeah.
Still, but I think just from what we discussed at the onset with, like, you know, James really shining on here, this is the best he's sounded vocally in quite a long time.
Yeah.
Awesome riffs. Production on it's really good. Like, the only nitpick is some of the stuff sounds a little like if this song would have been 5 minutes instead of 7, it'd been a fucking banger. This album could have been I think if this album would have been like 45 minutes or so, this would probably be in my top 4 or 5.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that.
So I'm going to just take a wild guess and say that your number 6 is going to be this 72 Seasons.
Yep. And man, when I first heard Lux Eterna, I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. But then, like I said, it shows up in MLB The Show, and it's always playing during the showdown. And I'm like, this is so freaking cool. Mm-hmm. And then, I got the album, ran through it the first time on, I think it was Saturday morning while I was working. And, 72 Seasons is playing. It starts out and it's kind of like, 72 Seasons is playing. It starts out and it's kind of like, 72 Seasons is playing. 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 72 I didn't really know how to take it at first, but then they have this awesome riff. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell was that? And then, James comes in and it's like, oh, okay, like this could be good. And got through it and started going through song after song. I really enjoy Shadows Follow, Chasing Light. I mean, it's a good album, and I mean, you should definitely give it a listen. I hate to put it at 6, but like you said, it could be the new car smell. But I just thoroughly enjoyed it from beginning to end.
I know for me, I really find myself going back to Room of Mirrors.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. And then I love the song at the very end of the album. It's I've got it pulled up just so I don't fuck up the pronunciation because I seem to do that all the time. It's In Amarata.
Amarata or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like Metallica doing Black Sabbath. And those are my two of my favorite heavy metal bands of all time. So the fact that my favorite band of all time is doing, arguably the Godfathers of heavy metal, like that one just really sticks with me. Those are the two that I always end up going back to and playing over and over again.
Yeah.
For me, number 6 is going to be Hardwired.
Hey.
Yeah. I think a lot of the reason that one rates so high with me is just the fact that that's the first Metallica album that we had gotten in like 9 years. So I think it's that feeling that I had, but fuck, we finally got new music coming out. I was just so excited for it. I know my wife fucking love her to pieces. She got probably sick and tired of me here, like, oh, we've only got 4 more days till Hardwired comes out. But I don't know, man. There's just so many good songs in that. Like, I really like Moth in the Flame. That's a really killer track. Spit Out the Bone. That's probably the most classic Metallica sounding song they've put out in a long time. I mean, the only gripe I had with it is I hated the fact it was on 2 disc.
Yeah.
But I've had a chance to hear so many of those songs live, and I think that kind of adds to the ranking too. Like, I think I've heard all but 1 or 2 of those songs played live. So that probably has a little bit to do with it. It sounds amazing too. The production on it's really well done. But yeah, I think it's probably rated a little bit higher though. It's probably just personal preference because I was so excited when that album finally came out because I didn't think we were going to get anything from them at all. They could have easily just stopped where they were at and just been a legacy band and just still continue to rake in money.
Yeah.
But the fact that they did an album and it sounded really good, I don't know. I probably have it rated a little higher than it should be, but I don't know. It's my fucking ranking, so have to deal with it. All right, so that brings us into our top 5, which I think we might start getting a little bit of variation on what our top 5s are going to be.
I mean, hopefully. We have the same 5 albums in the top 5, so
yeah, so we'll just see where we have them sitting at. What's number 5 for you?
This was the hardest. I mean, the number 1's an obvious one for me, and the other 4 that I have left can all go anywhere on this. So I just went by what they meant to me, and number 5 is And Justice for All.
Okay. We're not guaranteed the one after the other going forward. It's okay.
I mean, one is one of my all-time favorite songs, and I absolutely love Harvest to Her Sorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this was probably the one album out of the 5 that I probably don't listen to as much as the other 4, and that's why I gave it number 5. So,
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Great album. Highly recommend it, but yeah, it would be number 5 for me.
I have as my number 5, Kill 'Em All.
Okay.
The debut album. It's an awesome album. It's kind of like what really turned me into a thrash metal fan. It's my favorite genre of heavy metal, but it's, I don't know, like haven't really had a chance to listen to the remastered version. It just seems like it's the album that out of their older catalog, the one I seem to gravitate towards the least.
Yeah.
I mean, like I've had a chance to hear them do every song on that album live, which is awesome. I think sometimes my rankings, or if I've heard a lot of the stuff played live, it's an awesome album. I think it's just the fact I don't listen to it as much as the other ones on my list is why it sits at number 5. But still awesome though. Motor Breath and the Four Horsemen, those are my jams. Fucking love the Four Horsemen. I can't remember like ever hearing the galloping guitar riffs until I had heard that, and I just thought that was the coolest fucking thing of all time when I heard that. I was mind blown when I heard, like, that sounds like fucking horses.
Yeah.
And I was like, they could do that with the guitars. But outside of those two, like, I don't find myself like being in a mood for, like, oh, hey, I want to play Hit the Lights.
Yeah.
We fire it up. So I don't know. It's just probably more the fact I don't listen to it as much as the other ones on my list, but still an awesome one. What do you have at numero 4?
I have Kill 'Em All, and this Seek and Destroy.
Oh yeah, Seek and Destroy. I can't believe I forgot about that. It's one of my favorite live songs of all time.
Oh yeah, that's awesome live. But that was probably one of the songs. Well, this was the last. After I had bought Ride the Lightning and I got Black and I got And Justice for All and Master of Puppets, this was the 5th one that I ended up getting. And I was like, why the hell did I wait to get to this? Had Seek, like, I'd never heard Seek and Destroy, No Remorse.
Those are gems.
Yeah, those are 2 of my absolute favorite songs, and yeah, it's number 4 for me.
I don't think I ever bought Kill 'Em All. I think I stole it at a party I was at. I happened to see it sitting on like in the CD collection. Like, I don't have that one, and the person that was hosting the party was just a fucking complete dick.
Yeah,
because I think I was at a college party at UC, so I just like, fuck it, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
Not proud of it. I don't encourage any of my younger listeners to steal, but I don't know. Don't be a dick at a party either.
Hey, you be a dick at a party, you get your CD stolen.
Yeah, especially if it's a Metallica CD. I'm coming for it. Number 4 for me is the Black Album. I think if you go sheerly off of how important the album is, I think it should be number 1. I think it's in the hard rock metal genre. It should be like one of the essential albums of that genre. I think I seen something last year or the year before. This thing still sells like 5,000 or 6,000 copies a week, which is astonishing. It came out in 91. But I think the reason I rate it so low is the fact that I think one of the reasons why I don't listen to terrestrial radio anymore is because they tend to play the same 15 or 20 songs. And on that rotation of 15 to 20 songs, it's usually Enter Sandman and nothing else matters.
Yeah.
And I still love those songs, but it's just the fact that, when they've got other songs I think that are written better,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's more fatigue from the Black Album. I think that if anybody out there is curious about getting into like listening to heavy metal, if you haven't done it before, I think this is the perfect album to do it.
Yeah.
It's not too heavy to where, like, oh fuck, they worship the devil, which I fucking hate that stereotype, but that's another episode.
Yeah.
But it's not too heavy to where you get scared off, but it's also hard enough to where you can have at least some bit of credibility in the community. You can at least like, oh hey, like, oh, I like the Metallica Black Album. Like a hardcore metalhead's gonna laugh at you for that, but the casual metal fan you could start a conversation over the Black Album.
Yeah.
And plus, Enter Sandman is like, for fuck's sakes, it's been used as wrestling theme songs. Baseball closers use it as their walkout music. It's arguably one of the 5 most instantly recognizable songs in rock music.
Yeah.
And that riff is harder to play than I thought. When I had a guitar, I tried to learn how to play that. That thing trips you up so much.
It is pretty awesome when you get to see it, though.
Oh yeah, I agree. That's the one they usually end the show with. Although last time I seen them, I think they opened with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they played it early.
Wow.
Because we actually, me and my wife went to the Louder Than Life festival, and they headlined in 22, and they're doing what they did now, or they're doing right now, is they're going on a tour where they're playing 2 nights, and you're getting a different set list each night, so you won't hear the same song twice. And the second night we seen them, they played the entire Black Album.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was super fucking cool to see that.
Yeah.
Played every song. They played it. I think they played it in reverse order.
Yeah, that'd have been something to see.
Yeah. Still kick myself in the ass for not going to the Orion Festival that they put on, because they did. They came out as a cover band called Dahan, which is the last name of the kid that was in the Through the Never movie. And then they came out and they played all of Kill 'Em All.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then another time at, I think it's the very first one that they did, which I got vetoed on. My wife and I were going on vacation. I got vetoed. I wanted to go to Atlantic City to see the Orion Festival, and I got vetoed for Florida.
So yeah.
But yeah, the Black Album though is still an awesome album. So I won't go too much more, because I know you haven't gotten to it yet. So, what do you have at number? We're at number 3 now. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What's number 3?
You want to take a guess there?
The Black Album.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. If you wanted to give, someone who's just starting to listen to metal music or heavier music, this would probably be the album I would suggest. Like, there's so many iconic songs on this record, and I mean, even you'll still hear them today. Like you said, if you're in your car, your chances are you're probably going to hear Enter Sandman, or where, what was it? Wherever I May Roam.
Sad but true. Nothing else matters.
I mean, every now and then, like, I just seen the Unforgiven video on TV the other day. Yeah, it still kind of creeps me out, but it's just one of those top to bottom everything's just it's good. I mean, I enjoy it. I mean, yeah, sometimes it gets kind of repetitive hearing it, but it never. You always go back to it, and I mean, it's just it's an iconic album.
Well, I think too, it's like, you've written like a timeless record if you've gotten to the point where you don't hate the song because it's bad, you hate it because you hear it so much.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Stairway to Heaven, as an example, it's not my favorite Zeppelin song, but it's a great song. You hear it all the time. Back in Black by AC/DC, great song. I've heard it so much, though. But it's just the fact that, like, not bad songs, just you hear them so much.
Yeah.
All right, well, we are in the top two, which at this point in the show, you guys probably know what the top two albums are from us. So I guess it's just really a matter of where you've got them ranked. So who's number two?
Did you get number three?
Oh, no. Thank you for catching on to that. And Justice for All is number three.
Okay.
Like, I remember seeing it's a year and a half in the life of that Metallica video that they did where they chronicled themselves on tour during the Black album.
Yeah.
And I remember that was the first time I'd heard Harvester of Sorrows when they played it in front of, was that almost 1 million people at that Russian airfield? And I thought, like, holy shit, this thing is fucking heavy. And then, like, of course, I know some people shit on it because there's no bass in it, but, like, that never really bothers me. I mean, Metallica is always one of those bands that you're not listening to them for the bass. You're not listening to hear, like, a technical, like, drum showcase. They're a guitar band.
Yeah.
And I know Chris Jericho said it best, I think, about Lars Ulrich is like, he's never going to be Dave Lombardo or Neil Peart or anybody like that, but Chris Jericho calls Lars the Ringo Starr of heavy metal. And it's a awesome comparison. Like, Lars is just there to keep the time. He's not always the greatest at it, but, like,
I mean, there's no Beatles without Ringo.
Right.
So there's no Metallica without Lars.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, Harvester and and Justice for All, the title tracks are really good ones. There's so many good songs on that. I think it suffers a little bit from the same thing that Kill 'Em All does for me. It's just like I don't find myself playing a lot of stuff from that as much as I used to. Although that album has one of my favorite songs from them of all time. It's Frayed Ends of Sanity. Fucking love that song. That's like probably in my top 5 or 6 favorite Metallica songs of all time. It's on that album, okay. So that also gives it some credence. So yeah, thank you. A good catch, man. We would have completely missed out on number 3 for me. And Adam is an awesome producer, but he probably would have fucking just left it out. I wouldn't have gone back to put that little bit in there or maybe he would have. I know this is his thing, so that's why I have him do it. Okay, so number 2. What's sitting at number 2 for you? Because I know usually the 2 albums that we have are the ones that are usually the top of everybody's list. It's just a matter of where you have them. So what you got at number 2?
So I have Ride the Lightning.
Okay.
And I hated putting it at number 2 because it's the one song that made me a fan is on this album. And For Whom the Bell Tolls is my favorite Metallica song. Like I said, it's the one that made me a fan. And this was the first Metallica CD that I bought. And I still listen to it all the way through, even Escape.
I've got a point about Escape here in a second, but go ahead.
And yeah, I mean, I can't really say, I can't say a bad word about this record. even with Escape on there. So, yeah, it's number two, unfortunately, but
It's number two for me also. Um, I
yeah,
think it's almost a perfect album, except for Escape. Escape is
yeah,
kind of a weak track.
yeah,
Even to the point where I know when Metallica did the Ride the Lightning album in its entirety at the Orion Festival, that James did not want to play it. Like, there's a video of them playing it live, and he just is kind of like, "Can we play something else?" And I think they were trying to go into Dyer's Eve, which is another awesome song off of Injustice for All,
yeah.
and they're like, "No, it's not on Ride the Lightning," so they ended up playing Escape. But
Yeah,
but Ride the Lightning
that,
has For Whom the Bell Tolls. Ride the Lightning seems to be a concert staple from
yeah,
them as well. And Creeping Death is also on this. Just Bells and Creeping Death are like pretty much, if you go see Metallica in concert, you're probably going to hear those two tracks, and they both fucking kill live.
yeah. That would be. Yeah, For Whom the Bell Tolls is just, like I said, for me, I become a fan just because that was the last song that you heard before we went onto the field as a team. And I had no clue who it was and was just kind of naive to the whole heavy metal and rock at that point. I mean, my dad was Southern rock, classic rock, arena rock, but not really into the stuff that was going on in the 80s, the heavier stuff. I mean, yeah, every once in a while I would hear Black Sabbath, but it never really got to the Metallica or anything like that. And yeah, I mean, just discovering who they were through that one song. And then I had an entire catalog of stuff to choose from. Yeah, I mean, I hated putting it at two, but there's just one album that I think's perfect.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about For Whom the Bell Tolls, that's how my son really got into Metallica. I mean, he'd heard me playing them on the radio, but my son loves the movie Zombieland.
Yeah,
Fucking loves Zombieland. And one of his favorite movie scenes of all time, he's mentioned this once or twice, maybe 15 times. He loves the opening sequence of Zombieland. And they play For Whom the Bell Tolls in there. And like, he's asked me, I know the first time he goes, "Who is that?" I've heard it before. I goes, "Oh, that's Metallica, dude. Like, that's For Whom the Bell Tolls." So I just, for him even enjoying like that song, it's really cool how like music kind of takes you back to a memory. I think that's the power of it. It's like it sparks a memory or like a feeling of some kind. And that's the power of music. Yeah, like Ride the Lightning is like almost perfect. There's so many good tracks on this. It even has like my favorite instrumental. Like, I love Call of Cthulhu.
oh yeah,
It's one of my
yeah,
favorite instrumental songs, period. I just love how it sounds like it has that feeling of like this beast is coming at you as the song starts to pick up steam.
yeah,
But yeah, man, I think it's dragged down just a little bit by Escape.
yeah. Unfortunately,
Escape could have been like a great song. It's a decent song, but man, it's almost like they had to throw one more song in there, and it's almost like they just threw it together at the last minute.
yeah, just
Um,
not Metallica.
yeah. Oh well, I guess no big mystery. We both have Master of Puppets at number one. Um,
Yep.
Chime in. Curious to hear your thoughts on it.
I mean, from the start with Battery, I don't think there's a more perfect song to start an album with.
Dude, the same thing. I
It's,
feel the same way about that.
it's just like, okay, you're getting your teeth kicked in today. Like, let's go. And I mean, it's just nonstop from start to end. And, you know, Master of Puppets, when you hear that, like, I always think of the scene in Old School when they're driving that van around and they're spinning the tires. And yeah, like, that's how you feel when you hear that song in the car. Like, you want to spin your tires. You're going to go jack some old man away from his wife at the grocery store and throw him in the back of the van. Yeah, I mean, that's just a perfect metal album.
I think it's a perfect album in general. There's not too many albums that I've listened to. And I mean, I'm primarily a heavy metal rock guy. So I don't really venture into like hip hop and rap and pop too much. So take my opinion with a grain of salt. But yeah, I find that one of the things with a perfect album to me is like I can listen to the whole thing without skipping a single song.
Yeah.
And that is probably on the handful of albums that I can listen to from front to back without skipping a track. But man, like you said, like you're getting your fucking teeth kicked in the minute you hit play on this bad boy. And it just takes you on a ride, man. Like they experimented with ballads. It's funny that the song Fade to Black, I know a lot of people think that song's about death, but it's really about them, the way they felt when their equipment got stolen out of their van.
Yeah.
Is the basis of that song. It has my favorite Metallica song of all time, Disposable Heroes, which is about basically like, you know, joining the military, you're just out there just to basically get killed, and they'll just replace you with the next person. Yeah, man, this album really just speaks to me, dude. Like, I remember, like, when I heard this for the first time, like, I could not, like, I just had to, like, put my headphones down and just let it sit for a bit.
Yeah.
Like, I just could not believe what I had just heard.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a perfect mix of kick your head into, I mean, even Sanitarium.
Yeah, that's such a good song.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when we went to the concert, I mean, they started with Battery, and you knew, like, shit's going to hit the fan for the next 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when they played Sanitarium, it was just like you could feel like this energy in the crowd. Like everything was just silent and just staring and man, I can't really describe that, the feeling that you get when it's awesome. The feeling when, you know, they I can't even describe how I felt. It was just like my body was numb. And I mean, you're standing there. I mean, Rob was kind of new to the group at the time, but you felt like you were in the presence of a godlike band. And I mean, you have a stadium with 70, 80,000 people, and they're all just standing there like in awe. Because I remember, you know, that concert, it all started off, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, you had Mudvayne come out there, the Deftones, and then Limp Bizkit, and you know that shit got wild. And you know, Linkin Park had Chester at the time, and that was really cool to see. And then it was like Metallica comes out there, and you're like, okay, this shit's gonna get crazy. And then it's just like everybody's just numb, like you're in the presence of a rock god. And it was just one of the coolest moments of my entire life.
Yeah, I think like Master just seems like they place the songs like perfectly together too, because it's really it's like a roller coaster. It's like they get you like wound up, and then they know how to just kind of bring you down a little bit.
Yeah,
and just like, okay, now we're gonna pick you back up, and then and they also kind of like, besides like writing a first time ballad, it's like it's thrashy, but it's also like they experiment with like some doom sludgy stuff. Like the thing that should not be is really doesn't sound anything like you would hear on the rest of the album, but it fits perfectly in with it. It's a very doom metal sounding song.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's absolute perfection. Still I think it's my favorite album of all time. So I'm going to be very biased in this.
I mean, I can't argue with that. I mean, it's just I listen to a lot of different styles of music, but this would always be, one of the greatest albums I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. And I would recommend it to any. I mean, it's just, hey, you're having a bad day, listen to this.
Here you go.
Yeah. And
this will make you want to go out and bust something up.
You'll feel a lot better after this.
Trash cans, the neighbors.
Hey, pick one. Let's go.
Or both. Take a day of
why
it.
Not?
Yeah, man. I don't think. I mean, you can't go wrong with Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets, but yeah, I think that one for sure is like if you were for me, if somebody's like, all right, you can pick 5 albums to take to a desert island. Like, okay, like I'm grabbing Puppets, then I'll figure out the rest.
Yeah, I mean that one would be a definite. Yeah, I mean it's just you can't go wrong. I mean, if anybody said any of the tracks was their favorite songs of all time, I'm like, yeah, that's a cool song.
Yeah. One quick thing before we go. Top 5 Metallica songs. Go.
Oh, geez. Okay, one is For Whom the Bell Tolls. I would say No Remorse is number 2. Battery 3. Oh gosh. Seek and Destroy 4, and 1 at 5.
Okay. Disposable Heroes, The Frayed Ends of Sanity, Seek and Destroy. I'm going to go with Moth into Flame. I know that's a newer song, but I fucking love that song so much. And then number 5 would be Damage Incorporated.
All right.
So, hey man, it was awesome having you back on. I figured today would be as good of a day to any to talk a little Metallica. So, the new album coming out. Yeah, if you haven't heard 72 Seasons, check it out. Give it a couple spins. You may not like it the first time. I know it took me a time or two to get into it, but once I did, man, it's an awesome album. Definitely go check it out. So thank you for checking us out today. Be sure to follow us on the Facebook, Twitter, and the Instagram. Shoot us an email at couchbrotatopodcast@gmail.com. Let us know how we're doing. Tell us how awesome we are, how shitty we are. Love to hear your comments. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review if you dig what we're doing here. Helps us get some recognition in the old search engines on Apple, which is always a plus for us. So until next week, we will talk to you guys later. Bye, everybody.